within that few years later, because you guys believe that it's oil is here. Did the president take further steps into bringing people to find out really if Gambia have it? Like
I believe, yes, I believe that the ex-president at the time did do a lot of work around, because first you have to do the assessment. You have to do, once you believe that there is, you need to know how it works. So basically how they do the rigs, they do the big companies who are capable to actually exploit the oil usually are not the ones who come as the forefront. They create what they call, or they appoint what they call a purpose service vehicle, which is a company, a smaller size company that will be the forefront, and they will come and negotiate with the government and so-called buy the rig. Yeah, and when they buy the rig, they will have negotiated and agreed a value increment of that rig. So, for example, if they buy a rig for $10 million, they will say, okay, we are proposing that we will put a lot of value added projects or a value added equipment or value added research on the rig that will raise it to 20 million. And when we eventually sell it to the big company that will exploit it, you will have this fair share because the value would have been raised. So in the event of that doesn't happen, you don't tend to lose, but the people who invested would have lost. Now, they wouldn't just invest without knowing. And we then know of, even in 2023, I was working, I think Gambia set up this Ministry of Energy and Natural Resources for a purpose. And like I was saying, when you are to enter into a country, you send your purpose service vehicle after the first phase research, and we know that BP have been heavily involved and in the exploration of Senegal oil, the Sangomar, and the blocks that they have. When Gambia also were certain that they do have, through the ministry, through the research that they did with the companies that were here, namely you have a company called Petroleum ENP. They were given a block number 4, I believe. And this data I'm giving you now is actually from FAR, which is another company, an Australian company that operated here in the Gambia at the Petroleum House. Exactly the same building as the ministry, right? And then there was the GNPC was actually formed as a result of that as well, because GNPC wasn't formed just to put petrol station in the country. That would be foolish. It wouldn't make sense for a government to just have petrol stations to compete private sector. There was a reason for it, and there is a reason for it. So they were supposedly having 10% stake on the block that was given to the block 4. But this 10%, we don't know how much that value is. We do know that there was 29.3 million that was given to the government, paid to the government by BP for block A1. Now, BP did cancel their contract with the Gambia. That was announced by the ministry. And you can find the data in most of your, it's been reported all over the place. So nothing I'm sharing here is actually hidden information. You also have FAR, who has been to this, the Australian media and explored it, exposed exactly, and when I listened to it, I was like, Lila all of the wahne buki bujis yapa, and how they actually behave. So these guys were feeling like they had so much delicious taste of coming to Africa, Gambia and Senegal, and the stake that they had in our oil. So why did BP abandon their contract with the Gambia? I couldn't tell you. But one thing for sure is that it's to do with transactional discrepancy. Because BP is an oil company. Wherever oil is, they'll be interested. And if there isn't anything else, they probably didn't abandon anything. But it could be an information we have. Whatever it is is to be transparently exposed by the government. Now, my sad part to it is when I heard the president or the minister disclaiming
the president himself,
saying that we don't have oil.
Yeah.
That is very difficult to take because we know for sure there are six offshore and 2 onshore exploration blocks were quietly awarded by the government, right? And it was a decree. It could have, well, this is the thing. This government will be responsible as much as the previous government, because when you sign a contract as a government, it's not your father's home that you sell it. You didn't inherit it. So when you come as a government and you found contracts there, it's either you nullify because it doesn't work for the country, or you actualize it because it works for the country, or you renegotiate because it's better terms that you can get. Either way, we know that our oil is currently exploited, more than likely, because you don't put 29 point something million, having estimated 1.2 billion barrels, and yet sit there and just cancel a contract. No one does that. We are not kind of, from Kukuland. We understand few things. And the Gambian is intelligent enough to know that, there is oil. What quantity, how many blocks can be debatable, because technical experts may know something that the ordinary Gambian don't know. And this information, you can find it from far limited reports from the Gambian Ministry of Petroleum and African Energy Intelligence.